Okay. Um, the stream is transferring over. Pulling up the chat box. Uh, Chat box from the internet, please let us know when you can hear us. And otherwise, we're going to get started. This is issue 68 on the PM repo, the agenda. I imagine everyone has seen it. It's very similar to how it is every week. And we will get started with testing and releases. So somehow before I went on vacation last week, I messed up the tests and the BLS tests were not included. Subsequently, they have been pushed into master but not cut as a new release. We've also added some additional SSD generic tests, I believe. We're going to, the intention, and we can discuss this, is to cut a 083 on Monday or Tuesday, release these new tests. The 083 is entirely non-substantive. It includes additional tests. It includes some SSD clarifications and maybe like a typo fix and something else. With the intention that this is and it's substantively exactly the same as 082, but this is the Interop target, especially for our September gathering. Is anyone opposed to that? This is, again, it's essentially 082, but it has some more tests. Great. So that is coming Monday or Tuesday with, as always, detailed release notes and an associated bump in the test vectors. Cool. Proto, is there anything else with respect to testing that we want to discuss before we move on?
Not really. There's one thing with the 0.8 and 3 release. I'd like to just have this final feedback, last call from client teams. This is the moment you can propose this last little change in the test format or any small thing really that helps you like pass these tests. And then I'll look into it before we do the release.
Yep. Anything last minute, let us know soon.
Yes. Rather sooner than later, this is the final call. Then we have commitment from every team and from the researchers already on this spec. And then we can continue on it through.
Yep. And as for other things that are on the horizon for releases, the deposit contract, runtime verification is doing a bytecode verification of the deposit contract. They found a Viper compiler bug, which I can share in a little bit. That is in the works of being fixed on Viper side. And in addition, we're going to be adding a checksum that essentially you locally pre-compute what the SSD root of your data should be and add that as an additional parameter. These two things will be added to the repo sometime in the next probably 2 weeks, but I don't think we're going to cut any releases, so it'll stay in dev until like mid to late September. In mid to late September, there are a number of small substantive fixes or substantive changes that have come out kind of in audits and thinking that will probably come out after Interop. One of the most substantial is to remove the machinery that's currently in place for light clients, as it doesn't quite do what we want it to do, and it adds substantial hashing overhead. So this will be a deletion of like active index roots and something else. So as a pure deletion, shouldn't be too bad, but I wanted to let you all know that is on the horizon as well. But we won't be cutting that out until after our interop lock-in. Any questions on that? I believe at the same time we'll probably be removing transfers, so 2 semi-substantial removals. We can discuss. There's generally some like minor issues with there. It could probably be more elegant, and we don't plan on enabling it at the initial fork, so we're just going to pull it out and think about it some more.
Hey, Danny, out of curiosity, are there any links to talk about the the upcoming removals?
I believe so. And if somebody wants to dig around and find any conversation about that and share it, that'd be great. Because I'll move on to the client updates and I can look around too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's an issue around transfers that's discussing like a more elegant mechanism to do it, and there might be another issue around removing it. As for the other stuff, I think there's an issue as well. I'll share that soon. Cool. Okay, so that's testing and releases. Next up is our client updates, and today we're going to start with ETH.
So we're mainly focused on working on a validator client now rather than the beacon chain. So I've kind of started with that, and we're probably going to be working with a bit closer with Lodestar so that we use their beacon chain node for our validator clients. That's about it.
Nice. Did you see the there's a Malik RFP for validator client independent of these clients, so you could look into that.
I think that's just a GUI though.
Yeah, that's GUI.
I wrote the RFP. It's not just a GUI.
Okay.
It's very flexible, and I think that there's actually a proposal out right now, but there's probably room for more. It's very flexible. It's pretty much do some of the things that clients probably aren't going to be focusing on. So you can build out a validator client. You can add a GUI to an existing client. You can then build out monitoring tools. There's a lot of value add that can come from there. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Ian. How about Harmony?
REST API that we have specified. Also, we have connected our main executable to RocksDB, and now chain storage is dropped on disk. We have also worked on Eth2.0 integration and implemented a client that's based on the RPC, the JSON RPC credits to Web3j. However, this PR is still waiting for get merged. Also, Anton has finished a Gossip sub implementation as a part of GVM P2P work, and now testing that implementation with the daemon. From what I know, Shahan has finished noise implementation as well, and looks like phase 0 of GVM implementation is close to the release. All that we need is Java API and some infrastructure things to be done to get there. So hopefully we will be able to use this implementation for the interop process that we are having in September. We have started to work on 0.8.2 upgrade of that spec implementation. It involves a lot of things to be done in terms of testing. So yeah, it's work in progress, and we have started to work on the QA. Started for a little bit from property testing, and started work on fuzzer. It's gonna be a beacon chain fuzzer for the beginning, but eventually it will work with the network stack, our implementation of the network stack as well. Yeah, that seems to be all from our side.
Awesome, thank you. How about Trinity?
Oh, hi. Recently we are mostly focusing on the requirements of the Interop according to the networking spec. And most work is in the pilot P2P module. Alex is working on the SIG.io module for the Interop usage. And there are still some minor inconsistency in the PyDP that we are fixing right now. For the wire protocol side, we are also building a beacon chain receive server. We call that receive server for handling the wire protocol message request. And that's an open PR, and it will emerge as soon as possible. And also the Discovery version 5 side that Yannick is working on the Discovery 5 functionalities for the Trinity East1 client. But I think it would be great if it can be refactored to the East2 later. Yeah, when it's finished. Maybe we will talk about it since Felix is here today later. Yep, so that's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. How about Artemis?
Good morning, all. My name is Jahan. I'm going to do a brief intro because I've just joined Team Artemis a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So I'm very excited to be working on Eth2 now. Previously, I've done database-related blockchain stuff and Sandcastle, which was SQL, Ethereum smart contract language. Anyways, I switched off of those things onto Eth2. And one of the first things I worked on was libp2p with Anton with the noise integration. And now on to the Artemis updates. Steve and Jem have been working on SSC and debugging state roots, as well as deserialization. Jem has a pretty neat reflection-based API or process for doing the serialization and deserialization. Joseph is working on state tests. And Johnny has plugged in Lighthouse, the lib into Artemis, so that we have a Rust libp2p implementation of in Artemis now. We've also gotten some benefits from Adrian helping us. Adrian Sutton is working with Pantheon, and he's given us some of his cycles to start productionizing it with the metrics side. And that's pretty much it.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. One minor last thing, if Joseph is online, if anybody has questions about the upcoming Interop, please get in touch with Joseph DeLong. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. And maybe in a little bit, Joseph can give us any relevant details, any updates. Cool, thank you. Let's move on to Lighthouse.
Hey guys. So for Lighthouse, we've got a few points that we've been working on over the last 3 weeks, I guess. Firstly, we've been trying to optimize our database. I think we're planning on going down like the Geth route, where we have a cold optimized database and a hot one between finalization epochs. We've been working on our testnet stability, in particular, looking at extra metering and doing some bug squashing. And because of the update to the latest Eth spec that we merged last week, we've been updating our networking stack. And at the moment, we're at the process of modifying and improving the syncing algorithm to match with the new RPC that we've got. So we have to finish that before we're completely up to date with that Eth2, with the new Eth2 networking spec. We've also been working on BLS standardization, improving that, and connecting Lighthouse to Eth1 with the Eth1 deposit contract. And finally, we've been improving our HTTP API. So hopefully we're going to be transferring over to HTTP soon, also between the validator client and the beacon node. Cool, so that's it from us. Thanks, guys.
Great, thank you. Glad to have you in a same time zone as well.
Yeah, it's refreshing. It's not midnight.
Cool. Okay, Prism.
Hey, yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a few parallel efforts going on. So we're working on ramping our current sync and the P2P service to align with the latest networking stack. And we also refactor our DB for making like very easier to filter out query. For example, like you want to query a block, you can just filter the parent root and above certain slot. And then we also plug in the new for choice, which is we refer to the for choice on the finalized spec, and then working on benchmarking optimization. So hopefully we can see a 1 second slot time soon. And then we also implement the various RPC methods, get blocks, get attestations, and stuff like that to make it accessible. So people want to query test instead, or want to build a cool UI, they can do that as well. And I also want to mention there's a BOS improvement that's done by using the Go Core library, and that's for Portal for that. So it makes it a lot faster to aggregate, verify signature. So before to like verify 128 public keys, it took about like 800 milliseconds, and now we're able to cut down to 20 milliseconds for that. So yeah, that's it.
Very cool. Thank you. Let's move on to Lodestar.
Hey, so past few weeks, we got a new full-time person on our team, Eric Weathercam on the call. He's going to be researching assembly script integrations. He's so far already got a SHA-256 implementation that he's kind of ported over to TypeScript, playing around with just optimizing that. On some other fronts, we're working on getting up to date with 082 spec tests. So we're rewriting our spec test loader. It's kind of in the process. We've migrated our code management to a kind of a mono repo style. It's all in the Lodestar repository. And with that, we've started breaking out some of our kind of sub modules or sub components. So we've published SSZ types on NPM. We've published the beacon chain configurations like mainnet and minimal. Publish that so people could use that if they would like. And then kind of up next, we're working on the networking for Interop. We're partway through the disk v5 implementation, and in the coming weeks, we'll fix up our libp2p protocols. There's some kind of work on gossip sub, but a lot, mostly on the request response side.
Cool. Thanks. Next up is Parody. Actually, is Wei here? I don't think so. Okay, we'll move on. And Nimbus.
Hi. So we have a new joiner is in the call, Dimitri, who will work on libp2p and networking. Otherwise, in the past 3 weeks, we got the new SSZ implemented. On Eth1, we started about 6 months ago, an equivalent to web3.py and web3.js in NIM. And now we are using it to interact with the Eth1 deposit contract. We also have created a way to bootstrap Eth2 Genesis from Ganache, so everyone can use it. It's only JS, it's not NIM. I put the link in the chat. And on the networking side, we implemented the new networking spec. And we also have libp2p working again on Windows, and it can be tested with testnet 1.
Nice. Thank you. I believe that was all the clients, correct? Cool. So Proto has an update. He's, I think, been chatting with Whiteblock, and they're going to be putting together a survey to gather some information. So Proto.
Yes. So I'm here in Berlin with people from Whiteblock, Nimbus, and others. Hello. Yeah. And so we're closely working together on like the road to the Interop login. And so what we wanted to do is release something alike to a survey to map out exactly where everyone is at, where we want to go, and essentially have this comparison table for all the different features. And of course, there's already many different features spec'd out. We know where we want to go. There's also a few features we have not reached this certain set consensus. And then we also wanted to discuss and bring up all the debugging features and what we really need to monitor this thing. And then from there on, we'd like to basically map out like a short path to like the first clients talking to each other.
Yeah, so we're gonna put together like a table, like a comparison chart that allows us to identify where each client team is at, so we can figure out what priority needs to be when we get together at the Interop, and also just on the road to Interop in general.
So one of these reasons for doing so is not just documentation, but we're also working as an ongoing effort on testing, also with integration testing with help from white block. And so it's really useful to see where it's effective to test what features we need.
Yeah, so we'll be reaching out to different client teams to try to like get with a questionnaire or a survey essentially to fill out, and we'll probably put that on a GitHub and share that, and also try to like reach out one-on-one with everybody. I know we're gonna speak with some of the other guys while we're in town, like Nimbus and everyone else that's here. So if anybody's in Berlin, let's grab a beer and talk.
Cool. Thank you. I know when I was talking with Raul a couple weeks ago, he had intended to do something similar for the requisite libp2p features. Are you going to handle that in this survey?
Yeah, and we could reach out to Raul as well, and we could collaborate on doing that, or whatever's.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's cool.
It's not just libp2p, we want like more complete set of features, even the simple things like logging and there's many things to just like agree on and see like if he like can just manage to interop short and fast manner.
Kind of like key store was one of the big ones that we're still trying to identify. Like
Genesis start.
Yeah. So we're working our way through all of that, and we'll have like a comprehensive document that'll give everybody an understanding like where we're at and what we need to do next, and what we need to prioritize in order to make sure we're spending our time wisely.
Cool. Okay.
Who goes smoothly into Interop?
What was that, Les?
All hands on deck to go smoothly into the Interop login.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for putting that together.
Hey, Danny, just to jump in for a second.
Yep.
Raul's on holiday. It's a public holiday in Spain, but yeah, I think it would be good to get in touch with him about this. He has a lot of ideas about Interop and how we're going to test Interop between different libp2p implementations. So I think it would be worth reaching out, or I can make the intro, whatever.
Yeah, cool. I'll follow up with him. Is he on next week?
Yeah, he should be on next week. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And we'll be at ETH Berlin if any of you guys are around. So.
Nice. Okay.
Nice.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. Moving on to the next thing in our agenda, which is networking. Since Felix is here, Felix, would you like to give us an update on Discovery v5? There's also a number of implementations in the works at this point. Yeah,
so I can give the work side of it. So I'm sorry for not joining the calls last few times. Basically, I was busy with other things, but there is actually a pretty big update. So we started an audit of the specifications.
Could you speak closer to the mic?
Sorry, is it better this way?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Thanks, Felix.
Leaning forward very much. So so we started an audit of the spec draft with least authority, and it has been going on for 1 week. They have created an initial report But so far, the audit has mostly focused on the Kademlia portion of the protocol. And we're hoping to, like, the audit will still go on for another 1 or 2 weeks at least. But right now we're just at the point where I have to go back and just write about the topic system more so that they will be able to evaluate better. So basically, it's a bit of like what this first week has shown is that the thing is just not very well explained. Yeah, not so happy about that. But I will just explain it better and hope that it will work out. And yeah, on the implementation side, I can say that well, not much has changed. Like my implementation is basically up to the point where the spec is. And I'd be very interested to actually see if we can do any kind of interop testing on it with any other implementation, basically. So if anyone is interested in that, we can work that out.
Yeah, we're interested in testing out the interop. Last I saw, there was some discrepancies between the Go and the spec. So are they the same now?
Yeah, mostly because I changed the spec. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
No, I mean it's so basically when I dropped out of these calls at the last update I gave was basically that the implementation was a bit ahead. So now they are equal, I think, and we made these changes because I wanted them to be part of the audit. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we'll update ours to the latest spec, and I'd be interested to.
The diff is really minimal, especially for the wire protocol. So there was one where in the biggest change that was the biggest change for me in the goal was that the tag prefix is gone from the who are you response packet, and that basically that was a bit for me that was a bit weird like in the goal, but it turned out that we actually like kind of it revealed like some other issue in the implementation. So, but if your implementation like heavily relies on like parsing the tag out and then passing it around, then basically it will take maybe like an hour longer to fix it because the tag is now missing from one of the packets. Like just the first 30 bytes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So maybe I'll hit you up offline. I can borrow some Go code and test it out.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
May I have a question to Felix?
Yes, absolutely.
The spec has a security consideration in the topic discovery section. Could you please give an update on that?
What do you mean?
I mean that spec says that adversary can send the wrong information about topics or something like that. Or did I get it wrong?
So I don't know. So basically right now, so the text is still there. We just moved this part to the rationale. So we did some, like there's a lot of new text. So it depends on when you last checked the spec, but we actually added quite a bit of text before the audit to explain some of the security guarantees that exist and those that don't exist. In general, it is not possible to verify if you are querying a single node for publishers of a given, like for nodes advertising given topic, you cannot be sure that the answer is correct because there is no way to verify that the nodes you get back actually do provide that topic. The protocol cannot give you this fundamental guarantee because there is no way to verify. But if you query a lot of nodes for providers of a given topic, then in general, the answer is probably going to be okay.
I see. Thank you. It's been a couple of weeks ago when I checked the spec. So
yeah, I just looked. There's a bunch of new fancy icons.
Cool. Thanks.
What do you mean icons? What do you mean icons?
Icons. Little graphics. The arrow hand and the tools.
Which
on the Discovery v5 spec.
Wait, what? You sure?
I just linked to it. There are icons. There are green and yellow icons representing different parts of the text.
Wait, are you checking? Why are you checking?
Oh no,
It seems to be an
I'm in the discovery overview. Yeah,
Oh, the
I'm in the
overview.
overview.
Oh, this is very, very old. No, and you should check the actual content of the repo.
Yeah, sorry, I just did a quick Google search. My bad.
Yeah, no problem. yeah, Frank added this icon. No, most of the text is actually like all of the text so far is it's part of the repo, and it's, yeah, most of the now like the big change compared to a couple of weeks ago now is that basically we updated the rationale, so now it matches the wire protocol spec. So before there was the rationale was like stuck in January, and the wire protocol was from April. So now they're both up to date.
Cool.
Okay.
Any other questions for Felix before we move on? Great. Mike from Protocol Labs is here. Mike, do you have anything for us today?
Yeah, no, Raul and I really didn't have much to update about. I mean, I think everyone knows about the networking spec that was merged. That was like 10 days ago. We're also starting a bounties project. We're going to kick it off at ETH Berlin. If any of you want to get in on that, it's in a repo called libp2p/dev grants, DEV grants. But yeah, we didn't really have anything else for this week.
Yep, cool. And these bounties are going to be at the hackathon, or are these just more in general?
Yeah, so there will be bounties at the hackathon. The organizers of ETH Berlin chose us as a key project to focus the bounty pool on. But some of these projects we're posting are like too complex to do in a hackathon. So we would be interested in other people applying, and we're also hoping that other community members eventually might start posting their own. You can just post an issue in this repo, and then that's a bounty. So might start posting their own and even start offering funds.
Cool. On the, I can't remember, somebody earlier in the call had mentioned, maybe Shahan, you had mentioned that there was some work towards integrating noise.
Yes.
Is that experimental? I know the spec is still not quite defined.
Yeah, the noise implementation in JVM, the P2P is there. It kind of works, but it's not complete in that somebody can't actually integrate it into their protocol yet. It's just a couple of tests that show noise works with libp2p.
Gotcha.
I'm planning on making it more robust.
Cool, cool. And that's something I know Raul and others that are interested are kind of prioritizing speccing that out in the coming weeks or month.
Yeah, no, that's like I think Raul showed me his priority list, and noise was either number one or number two. So yeah, it's definitely on our radar, and it's important.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Mike. Great. White block. Do y'all have anything that we haven't yet discussed? You'd like to discuss?
Well, we covered a lot of it, but we're also having a webinar in a couple hours where we're going to talk about some networking stuff and like Interop, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail. So if anyone would like to join, feel free. The work that we've been doing this past couple weeks, we're summarizing into specs and documents that we'll share and circulate here shortly as soon as it's been reviewed by appropriate parties. So we'll probably have something on the next call that's going to be more verbose.
Cool. And who's the target audience for the webinar?
Everybody. Yeah. So we're going to be on the call. Antoine's going to be leading. Preston and Jem from Artemis, and we're just going to be chatting, talking shop.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yes.
Let's see. Great. Any other networking things before we discuss some of the attestation aggregation stuff that's on the agenda?
Yeah, I have a very brief question. Noticed that the disk v5 mentions handshake, and I noticed that there was some potential overlap with the noise handshake. So I just wanted to find out the best way to chat about it asynchronously. So I'm essentially asking how to get in touch with Felix asynchronously.
Also, it is the best to just open issues on the P2P repo, because this way everyone can participate in the discussion. There is actually already an issue about reusing the secrets created by the handshake. But I think it is maybe not the best idea to reuse these secrets for anything.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's the integration of the other secrets into the handshake, which is where I see the overlap coming in, and the integration of the additional data.
Yeah, so it's definitely like something to consider for the future, that you know, if since Discovery also already has a secure and authenticated channel, might be the best to just add some kind of message into the Discovery already, where you can say, hey, I want to open a transport connection with you. And that can also be very helpful for things like NAT traversal, because if you can talk the Discovery, you might actually be able to then like punch a hole in the NAT or something with this kind of message. But this is not part of the protocol just yet. But it's definitely something that can be done at any time. Like if anyone needs this aspect, we can add it.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you, Felix.
Great. Okay. So next up, let's see. Erickson is the last name. What's your first name? No, I don't know if you're here anymore. Anyway, some of the Harmony guys have been doing a dive into network load with respect to attestation, aggregation, attestation propagation. If there are potentially multiple beacon chain blocks and multiple shard blocks that are up, that are different network views at the time, we might actually have more attestation load than expected, and then also investigating the pros and cons of various strategies, the very structured strategies, the unstructured strategies. And they have a good write-up of some of the problems at hand in the GitHub issue. I'll share it with you as a HackMD doc. And I guess the conclusion is that we might need to increase the max expectations for blocks if we have difficulties in aggregating, such that we have some subsets of aggregation of attestation aggregates that overlap with others, and if we have multiple targets for beacon blocks and shard attestations. I think that is a possibility, certainly. It becomes at the expense of larger beacon chain blocks and potentially at the expense of computation. You can likely still verify the same number of signatures with the trick that Vitalik created, but you still have to do more summing of the public keys. There's a lot of trade-offs in design here that's being explored. One thing that Vitalik suggested this morning is to avoid some of the aggregate overlaps, we can actually have smaller shard subnets. So for example, a committee split across 2 shard subnets such that the best effort aggregate from each can be broadcast and a proposer can accept it and then aggregate it fully without worrying about overlap. So there's a lot of little trade-offs, a lot of little design decisions that we need to both think about, benchmark, and kind of explore on more real-world networks.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
But I can speak a little bit about that.
Please do.
Yeah. We have started our small research from investigating in aggregation strategies, specifically in unstructured aggregation strategies. And after some time, we realized that probably the aggregation strategy is not a bottleneck for the system, and attestation delivery could be could become a bottleneck, especially when we will have a big number of validator nodes. Like it could be starting from phase 1 or phase 2 or whatever, and what we are these documents is just a draft which contains some thoughts and some unfinished solutions that we want to share with everybody, and we want to put these thoughts and problematics into everybody's head, and after that get a feedback, and to prove that assumptions that made during that research are held, and maybe after that we will have reasoning to continue to investigate in that problem, to do some modeling. So yeah, the basic one of the basic problem we have thought about is BFT and scalability, which could which like it's like there is a contradiction here. If we have, for example, 10 or 15,000 nodes subscribed to Beacon Attestation topic, we will probably have to low the degree of P2P graph to make dissemination done in a limited amount of time, but reducing degree of that graph will reduce its Byzantine fault tolerance property as well. So you may read about that in these documents, and just give us some thoughts on that or whatever. Also, there is a block compression question. We might want to increase max attestation number that could be included into a block. There is a number of reasons to that, and Alex also have thoughts about how we could compress the attestations in the block by restructuring a block, and we would probably need to compare this compression to generic algorithms like Snappy, and we will probably do this in the future. So, but yeah, this now is a draft for that. So yeah, that's it. Maybe Alex has any other comments.
I think you explained clearly for now. So I have some other issues, but I think it's enough for now.
Yeah, it's a huge topic actually, and it requires some time to get involved in that, and we'd like more teams to be involved in that, and also researchers. Thanks, Danny, for taking a look at all this stuff. I hope we can get some feedback later on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, before the 083 release, I will put in the validator spec what the aggregation strategy is for Interop, and leave an opening for mainnet as we continue to explore these concepts, so that we at least have like the kind of naive strategy that everyone can work on for Interop.
Yeah, it might be that naive strategy will even work for phase 0 for the mainnet.
Right.
So yeah, and I expect that we could discuss these things in real life during the interop. I think it will be useful for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool. So kind of as mentioned before, the trade-offs and some of the subtleties here are kind of one of the big, for phase 0, the big things that we need to figure out. And also figure out what strategies might be valuable to pursue in the future as the network size grows. Cool. All right, thanks, Mikhail. Is there any other questions or comments on attestation aggregation and this general area of research in the P2P network before we move on? Great. Okay, I skipped research, so we're moving back to research. Any research updates? Vitalik, Justin, you want to start?
And so one thing is that a couple of PRs got merged. So one of them is 1186, which is modifying the way that Merkle proofs work, or the Merkle proof verification works. And part of that is that it basically, instead of separately providing an index and a depth, it provides a generalized index, and there's a set of methods for working with generalized indices. There's also an unfinished PR, which is, I think it's either 1316 or 1323. It's the beacon chain updates for phase 1, where basically we get it adds in the persistent committee roots, and then after that there is an updated or a PR that I started working on that Justin recently made a bunch of changes to for making light clients or defining the default light client syncing algorithm. So basically, Nick, I think that there is the important message is that there is now enough to go off of in order to start actually building light clients. Hold on, there's a question in here. Let's see if I can. Sorry, what was the PR that changed the Merkle proof verification format? 1186 is you can just go to the document that's called, I think, Merkle proof updates or something like that, or Merkle proof verification. Yeah. So the thing that Right, so this basically includes generalized indices, which the other parts of the phase 1 spec are starting to directly use. It includes Merkle proof, single item, and multiple item item verification. And then let's see if I can extract the PR for actually making the light client changes. It's 1316 is the light client sync. 1323 is the phase 1 beacon changes. So yeah, I mean it's there, and I'd encourage client developers to start looking at it and also think about how to start implementing it. One thing I also wanted to talk about in this regard is just the possibility of making some kind of infrastructure to make it easier for people to start building and testing their light clients. Like basically the challenge being that with the way the light client spec is currently set up, it's not going to be really possible to make a practical light client until phase 1 actually launches. And so while we're ironing out phase 0 in parallel, we want to do all of this phase 1 stuff, and also in parallel try to get light clients running as much as possible. So, I mean, one suggestion I'd made is just the possibility of making some kind of minimal kind of centralized test net that has one computer and runs one shard that you can have RPC against to get shard block roots, but would be interesting to think of some different options.
Mm-hmm. Because the Quilt team is building out at least the shard data chains of phase one in Lighthouse. We might in a few months have a good base client if we expose the methods to work against as well.
Okay. Perfect.
Still need to talk to Will about that. Hey, Will.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'll give an update with the quote.
Okay. Yeah. And the other thing that I just kind of started quietly looking at is private information retrieval protocols to try to make light clients more privacy preserving. And so far, it looks like stuff exists, but yeah, but pretty much all of it increases the overhead significantly.
Yeah. Meaning I can make a request to a server and the server doesn't know it, doesn't know what it's.
Yeah, the idea is basically that you make requests to a server and the server replies, and the server has no idea what Merkle branch you asked for.
We're building out some of those tools for light clients based on those discussions we had last week, Vitalik, White Block. So that's what I'm specking out, putting it into a document that we'll share shortly. I want to go over it a little bit more with some of the teams as well.
So with you and White Block, I mean, we talked about light client protocols. I don't think we talked about private information retrieval things yet.
No, what we talked about was setting up like the tooling that allows users to like test against in order to like build out those light clients. We're writing a spec based on that conversation.
Oh,
yeah. So it's just a step back. Can you do the private information retrieval without trusted execution environments?
Okay, so there's three kinds of PIR. Just to give a summary here, one kind, just to get the easy one, is basically using trusted execution environments. The second kind is information theoretic PIR, and the way information theoretic PIR works is you basically talk to n servers, and then you ask each of the servers to evaluate a function on all of the data, and each server gets a different function, and these functions could just be like a linear function, so a vector that you dot product the entire data with. But you choose these functions in such a way that the sum of all of the functions equals to the function that just basically outputs the kth piece of data. So like 0 times everything but the kth piece plus 1 times the kth piece. And then you receive all of the answers from the servers, you add up the answers, and you get exactly what you want. And so from an information theoretic point of view, none of the servers knows like what you're actually accessing, and the only way they could figure it out is if all of them colluded. So the idea here would be that this would be based on some kind of honest minority assumption, where say you assume that at least 5% of registered servers are honest, you ask 20 of them, and then you add up the answers from the 20. Another alternative is, and then the third alternative is computational PIR. And computational PIR basically works by sending the server like some kind of mathematical object. So like could be a prime, a number mod PQ, some weird group elements. Like there's a bunch of protocols, and then the server applies some transformation based on every piece of data, and the mathematical structure has some trapdoor that you include that basically has the effect that without the server's knowledge, when you decrypt the results at the end, it only includes information about the specific piece of data that you wanted to know about. So there's different ways to do this, but I mean the basic kind of like the main drawback, as you can tell, of the second and third kind is basically the server side. There's this kind of O of n computational overhead, and like in some cases there's some data overhead, though you can generally make it be less than O of n.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mhm.
And another update on the light client stuff. I know I checked in with Zolt, and he's moving forward with integrating Raiden into the Geth light client framework, and is still pushing on that. He says it's his top priority, so hopefully we'll see some cool stuff come out of that in the next month or so. He wants to have a demo before DevCon.
So I have a few updates as well. One is that I guess starting from right now, we have phase 0 bounties. So any substantive change to the phase 0 spec, state transition function, fork choice rule, or deposit contract will get rewarded 5 ETH or 1,000 DAI. So I guess 1,000 DAI right now is more than 5 ETH. So you just need to submit an issue or PR, explaining the substantive change or the problem that needs to be fixed. And once that is merged in before the Eth2 genesis, you'll get the bounty. Another update is BLS standardization. So it's now kind of feature complete and there's no known issues. So I guess we can consider it frozen in a similar way that phase 0 is frozen. So I guess the plan is to integrate the new BLS spec into dev, but not merge it into master too soon. In particular, we don't want to kind of disrupt the interoperability effort, but at the same time, we do want to encourage at least some subset of the implementers to start playing with the new BLS standard. I guess most of the effort will be implementing this new constant time hash function, Wabi Bonnet. The rest is very kind of minor and easy to implement if you already have the current BLS spec implemented. So just to give a little bit of context on the BLS standardization, it's part of a IETF standardization effort, and actually it's spread across 3 different standards. And none of these standards are fully ratified. So there is the possibility that bugs will be seen and fixed. I guess the good news here is that Ethereum is going to be the first to launch. And we still have a few months before launch. So there is room to fix bugs if necessary, at least until the deposit contract is launched. So go go find these bugs. I guess related to BLS standardization, there's also standardization around key related stuff that Carl has been driving. So checksums, HD wallets, key stores. We kind of want standardization around all these things for sanity. And I think the approach that Carl has been taking, and it's one that I quite like, is somewhat minimalist. Design has already been discussed, but I kind of want to share like a different viewpoint. I think the new Litecoin design is totally awesome. So it's not like a canonical Litecoin design. I'd say it's like a minimal one, and there's a whole design space around Litecoins, but at least the minimal one, it's extremely simple, on the order of 64 lines of code, extremely low hashing overhead for the beacon chain because it's based on these persistent committees, which don't change very much. And it's also awesome because it has kind of lower bandwidth requirements than Bitcoin SPV. And I'm also investigating another optimization which could potentially in practice lead to kind of a 10x reduction in bandwidth. So I'm personally quite excited about the light clients. And once we have these ultra light clients, they can be used for more than just user-facing clients in mobile phones. They can also be used to build these bridges between other blockchains, where gas cost optimization is critical. And then the final thing that I've been looking into is this idea of a quantum apocalypse insurance. So the idea here is that the validators can commit to secrets. So in the context of a Lamport signature, which is quantum secure, when they make a deposit, and we can basically in the event that there's some sort of quantum apocalypse, quantum computers break BLS signatures, well, we can basically disable all the BLS signatures and have a way for validators to safely transfer their balance as a validator onto whatever new platform comes next, which is quantum secure. And the nice thing here is that we can do it without any substantive change to phase 0. And you can kind of think of it as a validator level convention. So we won't be enforcing at the consensus layer this infrastructure, but if you want to benefit from it, then you'd need to kind of follow the convention that I guess will be standard.
But it is a substantive change, isn't it? It adds a field, correct?
So it only adds a field to the transfers, and the transfers are not part of phase 0, so there's no substantive change there.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Thanks, Justin. Will, would you like to give us an update?
Yeah, for sure. So a few things. So we've been doing work on benchmarking basically single pass multi-branch updates or multi-Merkle proofs on a sparse Merkle tree, implementing SSZ within an execution environment in the context of simple transfers. So Matt's been working on that. And the EWASM team has been doing a Patricia Merkle tree with RLP. And so we're getting preliminary results and benchmarking numbers on that. So hope to have more info by Interop regarding all of that. Also, we are continuing to build out a phase 1 to prepare basically being able to plug in Scout and the capability of phase 2 into a client. So that's in action right now. We're doing that in Lighthouse. We have most things kind of in place. We're just kind of working on tedious pieces right now, and yeah, filling in code and some bugs as well. Let's see, we started work on a new repo, which does some wrapping on Scout in particular, and just basically gives you one execute function with a pre-state root and input and an output, meant to basically abstract away a lot of the FFI functions that are set up. So we plan on just plugging that straight into our node that we're working on. Yeah, that's the update from Quill.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Will before we move on? Cool. Musab is here with runtime verification. Do you have any updates for us?
Hi. Yeah. So we have so we are reaching a state where we have more complete key specification of the phase 0 specs. So hopefully by the end of this week, we will have something there. This is going to be followed by essentially building the testing framework and making sure that all the tests pass through, and also updating the specs to the 0.8.2. Right. So that's what we have.
Cool. And the other project, which is the deposit contract, I was talking to Daejun 2 days ago, and it's generally complete, other than the a couple of negative conditions that he wanted to verify, along with this Viper compiler error, bug and the checksum that we're going to add. But that's exciting, generally verified, and we'll be ready to deploy when we're ready. Cool. Any other research updates? Great. Okay. General spec discussion, general interop discussion, anything people want to address while we're on this call together?
Do you mean by interop? Do you mean the lock-in stuff?
You can give us an update. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So I know originally it said kind of be there at 3:30, and I think what we're going to wind up doing is kind of doing waves. So like of kind of vans leaving to take us out to the the cult headquarters. And so I think I'm gonna set up or I'm gonna add the pertinent people to there's an Interop Telegram channel, and then tomorrow I'll do a call, like Q&A, about this sort of stuff, because this could take a while. But generally the idea is that it's 6 to the 13th. You don't need to bring food. It's catered. We have a cabin that supports like 30 people. WASM team has also gotten a cabin that supports like 10-ish people. And so
we also have a cabin with extra space.
That's what I was talking. Is that the same as the EWASM or EWASM cabin?
Yeah, we got 2 different cabins. So
okay. That's cool.
We probably have combined like a space for like 5 people, something like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So yeah, so there are those cabins, and so anyway, so we'll provide food. We've ordered food for about 45 people. So even if you're staying in another cabin, it'd be great that I knew about you, so you didn't starve to death, because that would be cool. And so yeah, Antoine, I'm now going to have to do the technical organization, because I'm kind of bogged down with operations. So he's going to help kind of organize the technical portion of what we're doing. The idea, though, is that we're working towards interop in between our clients, because it's in the name. And if you have any particular accommodation requests, like Johnny Ray asked for like a feather top, king bed and a bowl full of red gummy bears. So
thanks, Joseph. Great, cool. Very excited. Yeah, we'll take any questions and further discussion on this outside of this call. Thanks, Joseph. Cool. General spec, comments, questions, anything that's come up maybe with implementing some of the new test stuff. Proto, you got something?
Yes, so there's this fun idea been floating around to gamify testnets, and also this other idea to create a collectible for like participating in testnets and participating in the Eth2 launch. In this general, there's a little space, extra space. It's not related directly to protocol, but it's kind of fun for outsiders to work on and to contribute back to Ethereum 2. And maybe you can, like long term, once you have the cross-client testnet working, gamify things a little bit more and get people actually hacking the testnets, trying to screw up the testnet, test slashing, test all the extreme cases, and then try to reward them in some form of NFT or some other debt mechanism. And
yeah.
Model with the cartel. So there's all these people more involved in the dev space that are interested in helping out.
Yeah, so there's still an effort to figure out a good way to do an NFT for participating in the deposit contract, especially maybe early participants. And I've been talking to Austin Griffith a little bit about that. So,
The
but
comfort is one thing.
yeah, but in addition to the test nets, I agree. I think we even intend to do some incentivized test nets such that we have particular bounties to break certain types of things. So maybe we should start organizing our ideas around that. I like NFTs as well. Maybe even just achievements of like making X%, little things like that. Cool.
Also, another thing, so there's more and more people coming over to Berlin. If anyone is interested in co-working on Ethereum 2 related things, or just has questions that they want to like go over in real life, make some fast progress, then just message in the Telegram channel, the Discord, the Gitter, what else, and yeah, reach out.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned fuzzing. Actually, I haven't heard any updates on fuzzing in like a month or so. Has anybody been in touch with the fuzzing efforts? Is there anything of note to report there?
Yeah, Mehdi here. I'm with Adrian. So we've just been fuzzing Lighthouse for panics and updated our fuzzers to the latest spec. In that process, we actually caught a bug in our SSZ implementation. So that was a good one, but I'm not too sure what's happening with the differential fuzzer.
Yeah, so the differential fuzzing has kind of gone quiet. I guess, I think, Proto, maybe you can update on the latest status of Zeronity, but from what I understand now, it's all been resolved.
So the Go spec is fully updated already. The SSE Go implementation is fully updated already and benchmarked. And so it's actually the fastest SSE implementation right now. So every tooling for fuzzing is right there. It just has been like relatively quiet from Guido, and then there's no like new developments in fuzzing itself. So we need to take that up again.
Yeah, so there's an action item from me to basically approach Guido and make sure that it progresses. But yeah, make sure that Zeronity and PySpec are working, and then Lighthouse will be the next target.
Great.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Anything else, guys? Okay, last item on the agenda, open discussion, any question, any comment, anything that's not even quite related. Cool. Okay, we'll call it for the day. I believe 2 weeks' time we'll meet, and then about a week after we will be gathering together in person. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks all. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.